As you know, it's already been actually slightly over a month since I bought this 2021 Toyota Corolla. My first month impression is that so far, yeah, so good. No recall, of course. Um, no major issues whatsoever. So, um, my first of all, let's talk about the fuel economy, the MPG. This car is rated at, I believe, 2737, something like that, maybe slightly off. And in the real world MPG, I drive mostly highway, maybe 80% highway. So the my MPG is around, according to the trip computer, is around 36 or 37 MPG. So it's almost exactly the same as the highway MPG rated on this car. But again, I drive mostly highway, 80% or even slightly more than 80% highway. And so it's pretty accurate actually, because most of my cars before, almost all of them, they always overestimate the MPG. So let's say the trip computer let's say 40 MPG, the actual will be maybe 10% less, so maybe 36, 37, or maybe 38. So they always overrate it, but this car is spot on. So for 36, 37 MPG, it's actually slightly lower than my 2019 Mazda 3. So I'm not sure why, because that car has a 2.5 liter engine. So bigger engine, more horsepower, 30 more horsepower. But they weigh about the same, surprisingly. Maybe because I think the reason is the Mazda 3 has the torsion beam suspension on the back. This one has independent rear suspension, so that I heard it saves some weight on that one, maybe 100 pounds or something, or 100 some pounds. So this car, even if it has a 2.0 engine, slightly smaller engine, and actually this car is slightly smaller too. This car is around 5 inches shorter than the Mazda 3 hatchback, so it's a very small car. This is almost like a um subcompact car in terms of length, and on the outside it looks small, definitely. um but the weight's about the same as the Mazda 3, at least according to the official website. I think the official website is not 100% accurate, because they list like all the trim level weights the same, and I know that's definitely not true, because they have different features and the wheels are different, so they definitely not weight the same. But that's one major problem on the official website, but they don't care about, the specific weights. So, but another thing is that the Master 3, I have switched to smaller wheels. It has a 15-inch wheels with I believe that's a low rolling resistant tire. So maybe that makes a difference as well. So maybe something that I look forward to is to switch this factory wheels to a smaller 15-inch wheels. That's something I have been thinking about that. But I'll wait a little bit first, because I only have this car for a month. So if I do that, I will definitely tell you the difference. I think that's one of the reason, because when I switched to 15, that Master 3 have a slightly improved fuel economy. And that car actually rated at 25 city, 35 highway. So that Master 3 rated slightly less than this car actually in terms of MPG. But this car now is slightly less MPG than that car. So maybe because of the tires, I drive as close as that car in terms of driving behavior. I drive like the same. And then, so something that, for the driving impressions, actually over a month now. So the stick shift is, of course, not too much surprising, because I had the 2017 Corolla with the shift, so it's very similar. The throw is almost just the same. But I want to point out that the Master 3 has a better clutch, definitely better clutch, because that one, the catch-up point is right in the middle of the travel. This one is at the very end, which is the same as the 2017 Corolla. So if for someone who haven't driven the Corolla before, and if you're new on manual transmission, it's very hard to drive this car smoothly, because the catch-up point is at the very end of the travel. So If you drive it like the Mazda 3, you're not gonna have a very smooth ride when you start the car, because the catch up point is at the end. And then also you might start the car. It's more likely to start this car than the Mazda 3, even if it has the IMT function. And I'm not sure the IMT, they said it has a stall prevention system, but to me, it doesn't work at all. It doesn't prevent you to stall. The Master 3 doesn't have that function, but actually the Master 3 is more difficult to stall. But because I think first, the Master 3, the catch-up point is at the middle, and the second, the Master 3 has more torque. So that's why it's more difficult to stall in first gear. That car has more torque to get you going, even though you don't give it any gas. This car, most of the time, you have to give it gas in order to start going, even on a flat surface. On a hill, you for sure you have to give it gas. You cannot just start without giving gas. But the Master 3, actually, on a slight incline, you still don't have to give the gas. So that's one thing I like about the Master 3. And then another thing about the stick shift is that there are several times that I misshift. When I start at first gear, I misshift into third. It happens a few times already. So for the Master 3, I don't remember if that happens before, but definitely not as frequent as this one. So one thing to point out here, actually one time I stalled a couple times just because I shift to third and I didn't realize that. Maybe they are too closely. I mean, third, and especially when you're in second gear, if you downshift to one, there's a good chance that you will shift into third and stall your car. So something that a flaw or whatever, you just have to be more careful. And if you feel the car is starting to stall, just immediately swift it back to neutral and make sure you start in first. And then for the infotainment system, so far I haven't used it that much. You really have to utilize your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in order to utilize this fully. But I don't use it at all because, first of all, I only drive this, especially during the pandemic. Mostly I drive it for work, so I don't use the screen at all. So the only thing that I use the screen is the backup camera. If you don't have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, this is pretty much useless, this screen. The Master 3 has a more info actually. I don't know, a lot of reviewers say the Master 3 or Master in general has a lacking infotainment system. I'm not sure if that's true, maybe that's true, but for me, if you don't use Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, this is more useless. I mean, the Master 3 and actually my old Corolla, they have more information. Even without the Android Auto, they provide, every single trip they provide you an MPG for that particular trip, but this one they don't. It doesn't. It only show you your entire MPG history. It doesn't update it every single trip, so why bother? And then, so most of the info, I just look it from here. That small, maybe 4 inches screen. I get most of the info there. It gives you the digital speedometer and your MPG for the entire history. And one thing that I miss again is it doesn't give you the tire pressure monitoring. I think it only notify you if your pressure is too low, but you cannot look at the specific numbers. But the Master 3, it has that. It will show you, let's say, 33 psi or 34 psi. This one doesn't show. It only alert you when you are too low. And then, but one thing I like is the this one over here. I don't know, not sure what you called it. The shade. It has this extension over here. So um, is I found this very useful because it will block more sun. The Master 3 doesn't have this extension, so I like this a lot. And then it has no blind spot monitoring, of course. The screen it is 8 inch. I like this screen more than the Master 3, and it's a touch screen. The Master 3 doesn't have touch screen and is further away from the screen. And then for the climate control, it's a single zone, nothing too fancy here. But I like the control on the Master 3 more, it's more user friendly. And then of course this one doesn't have the heated seats, the Master 3 has it. And then for the IMT, I forget to mention, I didn't utilize it too much. It only works, like I said, the stall prevention doesn't actually work. And then the downshift, the IMT actually only works if you downshift from, let's say, 6 to fifth, fifth to fourth, etc., or three to second. But it doesn't make a big difference unless you are in a very high RPM. if you're in low RPM, if you downshift, it doesn't do much. So yeah, but anyway, this part is hard touch plastic. Of course, that's the one of the major difference from the Master 3. But other than this part, everything else is soft touch, just like the Master 3. Of course, the cloth seats, I like it a lot. I prefer cloth seats more than leather because it's not as hot in the summer and it's not as cold in the winter. That's why, I don't even need the heated seats at all. And the Master 3, even on the highest trim, you cannot get a cool seats. The audio, of course, not as good as the Master 3. Master 3 is the Bose audio. I think it costs over $2,000, something like that. So definitely not in the same class. And this is a smaller car, of course. So, well, I like a smaller car, but again, this weight almost exactly the same as the Master 3, slightly over 3,000 pounds. And the driving, of course, the steering is very light, much lighter than the Master 3. Um, but I mean, of course, this is not a sport car, not a hot hatch, whatever. Same for the Master 3, so I wouldn't say it's too much fun except for the manual. If you like manual, then it's fun. It's more fun than the automatic hot hatch, in my opinion. And then, so I might switch out the wheels and tires. That's my next thing to do. And of course, I will update the MPG. So far, it's slightly less than the Master 3. And then, yeah, this car doesn't have the heads-up display, of course. The Master 3 only has it on the top trim, so I'm not complaining too much. And then, yeah, so far, no major issues, not even minor ones. Um, and then another thing about the driving is that the power delivery is not perfect, of course. When I shift from first to second, there's a delay in the throttle response. So let's say when I shift from first to second, it is at least a minimum of half a second delay. So when I shift to second and then apply the gas, there's no power at all. You have to wait half a second in order for the power to actually come through. So when I press the gas, the car is not accelerating at all. You have to wait between half a second and 1 second. So that's pretty, I wouldn't say, I mean, that's maybe a small complaint. Because half a second is actually a lot in real life, especially if you want to accelerate quickly. The Master 3 doesn't have that problem. I don't remember about the 2017 Corolla. I'm not sure. I don't remember for second to third. There's a delay, but from first to second, there's definitely a delay, a half second delay. Even when you press the gas, there's no power at all. You have to wait half a second. But this car doesn't have a turbo, so not sure. I never have a turbo car before, so I don't know. But that's pretty much about it about this 1 month update. I mean, nothing major to report, just the MPG and the driving impression. No issue, of course, compared to the Master 3. I mean, still so far I like it. Just a few minor things that I missed about the Master 3. Of course, this one doesn't have the rear cross traffic alert as well. That's one thing that I miss. But the backup camera is nice. But other than that, I don't use a lot of, I don't like, I only like the backup camera in terms of the safety features. Especially, I told you before, I hate the automatic braking because if it malfunction, it's very dangerous on the highway. It happened to me before on the Master 3. It just automatically stop on the highway without anything in front of me, so that's very scary. Of course, I'm not a fan of the radar cruise control, so I never use it, so I cannot tell you any impression on that. But so far, so that's my 1 month update. So thanks for watching and have a nice day.